How are you, folks?
Doing well, thank you.
I miss you.
Yes, it's been a minute.
I really need to talk to you.
I know. I, I was backed up all day today with
I
these
know.
meetings,
I
but
know you are.
tomorrow will work well.
All right, no problem.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon.
Yeah.
So we'll just wait one more minute, make sure we get everybody connected that needs to. Dr. Yarbrough did let me know he was going to be a few minutes late, but we'll go ahead and get started without him if we need to. Just wait another minute or two, though.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. November 3rd, Finance and Operations Committee meeting. Welcome, everyone. We have a relatively short agenda in terms of action items, so we'll go ahead and jump into those. One of which is there's one information only item. Are there comments or questions related to that?
Not for me.
And I had raised one or two questions that Ms. Herrera was kind enough to provide an answer to. One of those was that the cover memo, there was a typo where it's listed as $818,000 plus rather than the $18,000, which that's been corrected, I believe. And then I had asked about the how this relates to the Securely contract we had for I think it was Securely Classroom, and so this is a separate piece to handle the chat monitoring. I did have one comment from one of our elementary school teachers was wondering when Securely was going to be available to them. So if it's not available, be good if it was available since we're paying for it. And then second, I don't know if the message has gone out to everybody. So maybe a reminder about some of these tools to help out monitoring web traffic or web browsing and email, etc. So
Yes, securely, it had to clear some things in legal and it's out of that now. And the agreements are going back and forth. So a PO should be in hand shortly.
okay, right. Um, so we've not had access to that. There's up in for this time period.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And when it is available, I imagine a blanket email will go out to teachers and other staff about how to use it or.
Yes, there'll be some training that'll be done. It uses a train the trainer model, and then the they'll do that training at the school level. So yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Hearing nothing else on this, we'll move into, there was one amendment with, to the agreement with Save More Cooling. This looks like to be just a date change. Is that correct, Dr. White?
Yes, we had an extension on the grant. The original grant was due to expire December 31st of this year, and products would not have come in time to complete the installation. So we were granted an extension, and so we're extending this.
All right, thank you. Are there comments or questions? All right, hearing none, I had none either. There is one purchase order with Air Temp Mechanical Services. Dr. White?
Yes, this is to replace one of the boilers at John C. Daniels. And obviously, we're moving into the heating system. This is not the one that covers the entire building. This is one of the redundant ones to support the building.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? I had none either, so these were the only items, so I'll go ahead and make the motion now. I move that we approve this. I move that we send to the full board this one amendment and this one purchase order.
Second.
It's been seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote. President Yarborough?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well, so the motion carries. So those will go on to the full board. Next items, the next two are somewhat related, an update on budget mitigation and also on thought exchange. So, Mr. Hernandez?
All right. I'm sorry, we're on 6.2?
6.1.
Oh, 6.1. Yes, update on the budget mitigation and plans for the remainder of the fiscal year. So I'm gonna split it into two particular areas. So the first one is the budget mitigation. So last month, because it happened kind of like in the same time that we were preparing for the meeting, I failed to announce or to actually, to announce that the Board of Alders did in fact approved the $3 million in additional state aid to the general fund balance for educational purposes. And I want to also clarify and make sure that these are funds, an assignment of funds that is only available to the Board of Education at the end of the fiscal year if needed. So these are not funds that come directly to us at any time during the year. This is only at the end of the year if needed. So I want to clarify that that's the condition of these funds, because they are still and they will stay on the general fund balance at the city side. It will never come here until we need it at the end of the fiscal year. So I wanted to announce that because that's a huge part of that budget mitigation plan. If you remember, towards the end of the right sizing and some of the other cost saving measures that we took, we were left with about 3.78, almost $3.8 million deficit. And the plan was to hopefully receive the approval of the Board of Alders of that amendment ordinance that the mayor put through for $3 million, and then the remaining 780,000, just under $800,000. So the remaining of that will be achieved by several internal cost-saving measures taken, like for example, the newly implemented contract vetting committee, which we just started, like I want to say, 3 weeks ago. We just started that process, and we're hoping that as one of the outcomes of that process, that we may be able to find some cost saving opportunities there. Although that is not the main intended purpose of the committee, it is one of the things that we hope to see that could happen, out of that process, that we may be able to find some contracts that we can renegotiate, or that we can realign using special funds, so that way we could have some savings on the general fund side. So we will keep an eye on that, and as the year goes by and I present on the second and final of the month, I present the financials, we'll be able to see if we are projecting, positively or not, and then we could gauge how many more mitigation, action items we need to have in order to achieve these savings. Um, but also, the second part of this conversation is that in an effort to continue providing details on our current budget, the one for this year, I know that some questions about what's included in other contractual services. That line item, which by the way, I want to remind the public that we did provide a line item budget during our last F&O last month. It is there. We provided a line item budget. So you could see every single line item, and not only the general fund, but you could also see the special funds and the interdistrict as well. So it is probably the most detailed district-wide budget that has been presented in a while. So it is there for you to see and then to ask questions and to kind of like, be able to understand how the funding is distributed across the district. So the line item, other contractual services, I want to give you like an idea of what makes up that line item. So I did provide it on that sheet also the description of what that line item means and some of the things that make up that line item, but now I'm going to be even more specific. So I'm going to give you some examples of things that are right now in our system as purchase orders that have been approved already that come out of that line item. So I'll give you an example. Like many of the custodial services that we have, whether it was the 3 months that we had SJ services, or even our facilities contractor ABM, the condo association fee for the building, all these things come from this line item. And those three that I just mentioned, just those three that I just mentioned, just up until now, that's already about $3.5 million. So you could see how some of these items are very costly, and they go on this category that I think the category was $23 million total, if I'm not mistaken. Um, Another one, for example, it's like many of these speech and language services for special education, behavior management, you know, hearing, impartial hearing support, psychiatric services. Many of these of costs, they also come from this line item of other contractual services. So other contractual services, I just want to kind of remove this idea that these are just contracts that don't necessarily affect directly the school. I just gave an example of a lot of different contractors that are school-based contractors. These are speech and language, audiology services, all these things that actually go into the school and provide services to our children. They all go under this object code of under contractual services. So many of these expenses actually do directly serve our children. And I'm giving you the bigger items, the one that I just mentioned that are under this category. That's about $1.3 million so far in 3 months that we've been, with the school. Another one, just to give you another idea, is the nurse services, the contracts that we have with Yale, Cornell, Scott, Hill, Fairhaven Community Health. All these contracts, for nurses at our schools, they come from this line item as well. Let me see what else we have. ACE, area cooperative educational. They provide different kinds of services. One of them is artists. They provide dance and music, and they also provide some other services throughout different schools. Their contracts also come from this line item as well. Let me see. And there are plenty of other services, that are within these, and we have, I mean, perhaps Mr. Wilcox on next during the financials for next month, I can provide a little bit more detail, expense line item for this particular one, so that way people can see it up until the end of October, what we have so far, and that way it's posted and people can see it and have an idea of what this line item means. Because I know this has always been one of the questions that people always ask. What does other contractual services mean? So I just verbally give you some ideas. Some are school-based, some are not, but holistically, these are services that are needed, and I can provide more details, during the next meeting if need be. And that's when it comes to the budget mitigation and the plans for the remaining of the year, that's all I can think of. On the next line item, I will talk about the budget process for next year, but that will be on 6.2. And I'll leave it at that unless you want me to talk about that now, and then they kind of go together. So
Yeah. Let's see if there's any comments or questions in this item first, and then we'll move into budget preparation.
None from me.
Okay. Thank you for this update. I do think it would, I can imagine people would be interested to see what the breakdown is that, like similar to the line item, just having the detail on that line item. The way I think about this one is it's pretty much everything this committee does is approve or move, do the work of vetting, and then so the board can approve these contractual services. And so I think a lot of it is just encompassed in some of the things that we do when we're approving all the various agreements and contracts and so on that comes through here. But something like that people could see. And I think it would also be good if on the district's website in that area where budget information is put, that we just have a place for the current budget year where some of this stuff gets put. So for instance, the line item budget that you provided at our last meeting and then also was part of the board meeting, posted materials, just having a place like that so it's easy, just one stop. Whatever's available for the budget, it's available there, I think would be great. So yeah, the one I often hear about, I've heard about in the past is other contractual services, just because people want to know what other means. So thank you for this. And if you did want to have information on this at the next meeting, I'm sure it'd be useful.
Perfect. Will do.
If there's nothing else on this, 6.2 is two things here. One is around budget preparation, and then also specifically using thought exchange to help gather public input or staff input on budget related things. So, Mr. Hernandez, you want to start on this?
Sure. Do you want to talk about thought exchange first before I do, or?
Okay, I mean, I can. I think one thing is just the idea of we have the thought exchange tool, which we've used in a variety of different things, and it might be useful to be able to use it to ask questions and gather input. For those of you that haven't used it, this is the tool that was used during the strategic planning process where we were able to send out and gather input from, I don't remember, 1,000 or more people on what their ideas were around a specific question. And then if somebody wants to, after they've answered the question, they can rate or rank other people's responses. So they can say, oh yeah, I really care about this too, or this isn't very important to me. And then there's an AI tool that kind of sums that up, but then also allows staff to go in and look at the individual responses. And the final thing about it that it's really nice is it does automatic translation, not only of the question into somebody's language, so you can then also, they can respond in their own language, and then it's translated. So you can ask the question in Arabic, receive the answer in Arabic, but not need to speak Arabic or read Arabic to be able to deal with it. So that's just one thing. And I think it would probably good for us to kind of have start to generate a list of questions of what information we really want to seek from the public so that we can start having a plan about when we will seek those answers to those questions. And if we want, we can have this as an item on next meeting's discussion schedule, just to continue this discussion specifically about using thought exchange for budget preparation. So that's my thoughts on that. Happy to
Sure.
open it up, but then also I know that you had some other things related to budget preparation for the next budget.
All right, so I'll jump into the budget preparation, but if there's still any questions about thought exchange, just please. I just got a mini training on thought exchange, so thank you, Ms. Red Hannens, for that thought exchange training. I was very impressed. This is definitely the tool of the future. I loved it, so I can't wait to use it. So I'm gonna breach that thought exchange tool, idea that we're gonna, implement. And I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of a background of why this is important. These and many of the other things that we're going to be doing this year through the budget process. So And as I have mentioned before, it is the superintendent's desire to create a budget process that fosters confidence and trust through transparency and accountability. I believe that transparency is a cornerstone of good governance and fiscal stewardship. I stand on that statement because that's what guides, my decision making here. It is extremely important that we are transparent about our budget process, that we're transparent about what it is that we do and how we do it. Um, for the first few months here, I had to spend a lot of time learning and catching up and understanding, the practices, the culture, how things have been done in the past, and what are the opportunities to improve what was already working, in the future. So now I'm at a point where we could have this conversation about, okay, I think that now this budget process, we could definitely do some things the same way we were doing before, but there are some other ones that we're gonna make some improvements in order to foster that confidence and transparency and trust. And using this thought exchange tool, it's just one tool that will support this goal of transparency and accountability. So to this end, another important thing is for us to engage all of our stakeholders. That's critical. One part of the budget process for this year will include visits to different already established community groups and meetings. So, you have seen how in the past the district have done some community forums. We basically say this is what we're gonna do, this is what we're gonna do it. But this, we're going to add to that a new component, which is that we are going to visit those groups of parents, teachers, community leaders, whatever groups we deem or determine that are stakeholders that can provide input for a budget process. We're going to go where they are. So it's not that we're going to call them to come to us. We're going to go to them. We're going to go where they are. We're going to have conversations, and these conversations could happen in two different ways. It could be an informal conversation, or it could be a formal presentation that we may want to make or create for this particular group. Either way, they both will help us achieve the same goal, which is to create a trust relationship that people can feel empowered by, whether it's through an informal conversation or a formal conversation. So these items are still to be determined of when. I'm still building the budget timeline, and we are still identifying groups that we would like to visit, whether it's at a school or a community recreation area, wherever it is that these groups are normally meet. We want to be able to go out there and then have these conversations. So Thought Exchange will be able to capture these digitally online, access to thousands of people at the same time, but we're also going to do the in-person, the one-on-ones, the smaller groups conversations, because that's also important that they see us out there looking for information, gathering input, and be able to put this together in a way that accounts for everybody's feedback and it's a good opportunity in order to learn, but also to foster that trust relationship that's so important when you are managing the taxpayers funds. At this stage of the process, just to give an update on where we are in the budget process, at this stage of the process, we are working on aligning our staff roster with their respective locations and start building the personnel cost part of the budget. So this is the first part of the budget where we look at the roster of all the employees, their locations, making sure that everything aligns, that we have their most updated salary, and then we start building the personnel part of the budget, which, as you know, according to my presentation last time, accounts for 44% of the budget. So this is a huge chunk of the budget. So that's important for us to do this piece. Now at the beginning, as we start building the timeline for when we're going to be meeting with the different groups of stakeholders, throughout the community. And this is something that the superintendent is also very excited to join me as well, to do this together and be out there and have this conversation. So you're going to see a little bit of a different kind of approach, approach to this budget process. So I'm excited for these coming months. But in addition to that, then we're also going to announce to the different administrators and department heads when we're going to be doing some of the other more in-depth look at the budgets, their templates and filling out, their wish list and some of the things that work for them, what didn't work for them, what are their needs. We're also going to be announcing those dates and that timeline, pretty soon. So that's more of an internal part of the process. But I wanted to tell the public that there's also a component that will definitely take into account the community and the other stakeholders that are not necessarily employees, but are parents, are community leaders, and just folks from the city that are interested in our educational budget and how we're doing with our children. So I just wanted to share that. I don't know if there's any questions about the budget process that I can answer right now, or about thought exchange, and I'm more than happy to address those.
All right, thank you for that. Before I open it up for questions or comments, I'll just say, Ms. DeMayo, we should probably just have a standing item for the next couple meetings on just budget preparation, just updates on anything, so that we just have a nice standing place for as plans further develop. We can just have a placeholder to talk about it. Understanding that specific dates for specific meetings might not be available until closer to when those meetings would occur in January or February. But, just, I think if nothing else, just really being able to outline what the process will be, at least in general terms, I think will be helpful. And so we can talk about that. Any comments or questions related to this item?
Yes, I have two.
Please.
Thank you very much for having on the.
Go ahead.
Maybe in one of the sessions or at some point, seeing the draft list of questions that we'll use for a thought exchange. I think that would be a good idea. And even also if the board can offer suggested questions for the district to consider using. In terms of meeting with different stakeholders, I think it also might be good to meet with our various delegations or elected leaders, to include them in this process, to see what questions they have, but also see what their insight and suggestions are. I really do think that everyone who has influence in decision making and in the narrative of NHPS, that when we win, everybody can celebrate their role. And when we struggle or don't win in terms of getting a budget approved that we need, then everybody can also be accountable for that piece. So I want to make sure we include people in the process who will have a hand in opinion, but also a hand in helping to bring our budget together.
Thank you, Dr. Yarborough. I think at the beginning it was cutting off a little bit, but my understanding is that you would like to see a draft of the questions for that we may publish through Thought Exchange. Yeah, I'll be working directly with the superintendent on coming up with any questions that we may want to publish through Thought Exchange. So I'll have a conversation with her on how we can share this with the board and get some input on these, and then we'll go from there. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And then regarding the meetings, I am happy to at least announce that we have already established some conversations and meeting with the delegation. So we have made quite a bit of progress when it comes to meeting with the state delegation. Not only we met with all of them already, but individually, some of us are following up with some items with in some of them as well. Some of their questions, and we're following up and exchanging conversations with them. So I think that keeping them engaged now is critical as we go through this process. Because they are critical stakeholders in this process. So we want to make sure that they are engaged and they know and they have updates on how we're doing, what we're projecting that we're going to be at. So we definitely have that line of communication open, and we're definitely tapping into it and making sure they are aware of where we are, and using
Perfect.
the resources for any feedback that we may need.
Perfect. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? So I think it sounds to me that if anybody had any suggested questions that they think should go out to Thought Exchange, my suggestion would be to send them to Mr. Hernandez, the superintendent in this committee. I will also extend that invitation to all the full board members at our next board meeting, which is next Monday. Thank you for the kind of the overview of where things are going for the rest of, for budget preparation. I heard a lot that I liked, particularly in, in the past, we've always had, like two different budget forums, but it sounds like this will be much better chance of being able to meet with other groups, maybe smaller groups. I liked it sounded like it could be, interactive, talking about answering questions. And I think that all sounds wonderful and look forward to hearing more about it and participating. Happy to be at as many of those as I possibly can. And appreciate having fresh eyes on this. I think previous CFOs, every CFO I've worked with adds more and better to the process. So I like what I'm hearing tonight as well. I'll just say that.
Thank you.
So thank you. And it's also good that we're getting a little extra use out of Thought Exchange since we renewed the subscription. Might as well use the hell out of it. If there's nothing else in this item 6.3 is an update on landscaping. Dr. White, just as a background on this was when we sent forth the landscaping contracts, there was lots of concerns about vendor performance, and the district had outlined a new process of making sure that we had evidence that work is being done and checked on, both that the vendor's performing and that district staff or others are checking the work to make sure. So is there an update on this, Dr. White?
Yes. So as you know, as you alluded, we started working with these vendors. A couple of the contracts only came back in the last week, so they will be doing the fall cleanups. But I will just give you an example of some of the work that was done with the emergency vendor to get our schools open. So we reviewed, I'm sorry, let me just share it. So this was one of our contractors. This was it was an emergency PO that was put in to share the work. Their response time was quick. As soon as we got it out to them, they were out the next day working at our schools. We also had rated them like, was acceptable staff? Yes, it was at the right level. I'll show you some images in a second. The work was done. This particular vendor did the work, and they had to do two different types of equipment. One equipment for the outer grounds, and then something else to do interior courtyards. So they worked on that, and all of this work was completed satisfactorily. Also, it was supplemented with help from DPW because of the time crunch to make sure all buildings were ready and open on time. Go to a little bit of our pictures, and I'm sorry, give me 1 second and open the correct file. Are you, so these are some shots that of the different areas, and that I think just went backwards. Apologize for that, but nonetheless, we have the photos in that go into a file. All of this is being maintained by facilities. so that we can meet the expectation and check in on performance as they go through. Right now, as I said, we're doing fall cleanups. We didn't have as many cuts this fall because of the delay in the contract, but thankfully also relatively dry period has made it easier to get through. The next piece of work is going to be on trimming back areas so that, again, we can improve lighting for, obviously, as we are at nighttime at 5 o'clock now today. So that's the next part of the work, making sure that parking lots are well lit and the work is done around that. And one of the things also has to remember with our landscaping, it is really just the cutting of grasses and cutting around, trimming back. This is not planting of shrubs or anything like that. Any of those beautification pieces tend to be done at a school level through PTOs and groups as such as that. But that's where we stand with landscaping currently.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? Ms. Downer?
Good evening, everyone. I just so if we didn't have that many cuts because we had sort of a dry season, was there any funds to, you said the PTOs have to handle the trimming of the bushes?
No, like we do trimming by men in terms of planting, like if schools wanted to plant particular plants and such, that wasn't part of this RFP.
Okay, so we currently have bushes that are at our school. They are all over the place. They don't even look like the bush that they're supposed to be. I mean, for decorative. When I see our schools, I see our schools belong in the community, so they belong back to the community. So I would have, I know I had asked when this landscaping contract that came up to take a look at that. Was anyone looking at that to trim the bushes that we currently have? Because that actually has an effect on the neighborhood. So I'm just wondering if we ever took a look at what it would cost to have these things trimmed, or even look at maybe an organization that maybe someone is looking for, I wouldn't say community service because I don't know, there'll be a reason why the person has community service, but
no,
there could be situations.
Grounds. Oh, sorry, I'll let you finish.
So there could be situations that, don't have certain folks on our grounds, but if there are other vendors that are looking to give back, especially with, the times that we have now, that there may be even a vendor that say, hey, I will adopt a school. We adopt highways and everything else. So can we find those vendors out there to do that? Because that's should be definitely a part of a beautification program. I believe that the bushes are just as important as the grass. Thank God the grass is getting cut. But I just think that we need to make sure the neighborhood, especially the inner city, the schools that are in the inner city, like Bassett, like Troop, like Jackie Robinson, those kids have very little to look, we try to make sure that they have just as much as a person that's living in Westville or East Shore. Like they have the same opportunities to look forward to. So we want to make sure that that's equitable there. So we need to be looking at those type of partnerships, seeing if someone could, help us out, I'm just saying if that was ever looked at, because one of the things that, I can't keep reclaiming my time. This is the same stuff I've been talking about. But I want to make sure if someone looking into it, if maybe my idea really don't work, just tell me. But I just think that we got to try to push it with these bushes, because some of these bushes you can't even tell. Some of these weeds look like trees, and I'm it's out of control. They're really high. So
it is something we're looking at, and it's something that the facilities team will need a little work to put together a team that can work on it, but it is something that's worthwhile looking at, and also seeing if anything can be repurposed. And since we didn't have 5 cuts for this fall, so it is something we'll look at what the possibilities are.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I've been doing my ride-bys too, so thank you.
No problem.
All right, thank you. My one question regarding landscaping is, does the landscaping contracts include either leaf removal or mulching or mowing or something for
That's
leaves?
part of the cleanups.
That's part of the cleanup, so that'll be
Yes,
happening over the next month or so?
correct.
Okay. So, all right, thank you. And then my final thing is the form that you showed us, is that similar to what's going to be used for snow removal as well? So
Yes.
it's kind of becoming the general
Performance, vendor performance for particularly that type of work. Yes,
oh,
were they on time, what they did, just basic, straightforward information, so we could use that to make decisions going forward.
okay. Thank you for the update, and I fully agree that, being able to trim bushes back and understanding that we don't have the budget for beautification and planting flowers and a lot of decorative things, just, keeping what we do have in check is important. So I definitely agree with all of that. And I'm glad to hear that something might be happening with that, and especially around lighting. So thank you for that update as well. I know you mentioned that in a citywide building and stewardship meeting, that was going to be a focus, trimming back around lights and making sure exterior lights are working as well. So I think that is key. Anything else on this?
Mr. Wilcox?
Yes, please.
So I also wanted to know if it's possible also, because since we're picking up leaves, can some of that be used for composting? Because I know there are other schools that are actually planting. You go into some of these schools, they have they're planting lettuce and everything else. So I think we need to take advantage of those type of opportunities there also. And then, also not just the lights, just the signs that's going in, whether they turn left and one way and all of that. So that's
I
what
will research the composting. I don't have an answer at this moment, but I'll look into that.
Oh, okay. Because I know that the Park and Rec, they do give you free composting for the
Right.
city of New Haven. So maybe we can go grab some of those. Thanks.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Hearing nothing else on this, item 6.4 is a facilities funding gap discussion. Dr. White?
Yes. So we have gathered. Are you seeing the screen with
Yes.
facilities fund gap? Okay. So the Association of School Building. I lost the acronym there. School business officials. They recommend a range of $3 to $4 per square foot of maintenance. We currently have about 170 per square foot that we spend. And so we have a gap range from about 1.3 to $1.30 to $2.80 per square foot. And we have over 4,252,000 square feet of space. 3.8 million alone in the schools themselves. So at a current 170, that's about $6.5 million we're spending at the school level. If we were to do the low end of the additional money, that would require additional $5 million, $4.9 million of the gap. If we were to go to the full 280 roughly gap, that's a $10 million addition. Now, this is just look at how we are in our status at this moment, and we know that there's been deferred maintenance over the years, so these numbers extrapolate out to many more years of funding needed to bring our buildings up to completely keep up with all the maintenance that would be required in our buildings on a yearly basis. I think
Right.
that sums up where we stand and what we need to do. Of course, we try to seek grant opportunities to help defer some of these costs, particularly around roof repairs, HVAC systems, put in everything we can. But this is sort of a framing of where the gap is.
All right, thank you, sir. Any comments or questions?
Yes, I have one.
Please, Dr. Yarbrough.
Yes, thank you very much for getting a reference point for us as it relates to what the investment should be per square foot, and also acknowledging where we are and identifying what the gap is. I have a question about strategy for the repairs that we do and for the ongoing maintenance that we do. And it might be a question that's better for the committee that deals directly with this, but I'm looking to learn what is the strategy or approach when funds are limited to deciding what to do when, are we also thinking about multi-year steps? You know, as funds come in, we would do this particular item first. And what I'm hoping is that some of the smaller items don't fall through the cracks because we're doing just the bigger items. Yes, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, so our overall plan, we're still working on the facilities master plan, but right now, safety and security take first priority. So a lot ends up going towards door repair, entry doors, making sure we have those things. Then obviously we go to things that really do end up relating to safety and security. Let's make sure bathrooms are fixed, stall doors lock, and those things. Currently, we've been on a bathroom blitz across the district trying to do those things because, again, those are things that are visible to staff and students. Other than when it's too hot or too cold, they may not see all of the work being done on HVACs, but those are some of the visual things that go into the work. And we're trying to build out that plan of what are the major things that need to be done, but also at the same time, to your point, we're not letting the small things fall through the cracks, like fixing locks on doors so that someone can have their full privacy and dignity in a bathroom. Those are small but important things that have to be done as well.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Downer?
Thank you, Dr. White, for just giving us that just the numbers and where we are actually in the gap. And this is just for just my thoughts here, right? We got too much privatization here. We got to find a strategy for addressing our maintenance. We're heavy on the, all of our contracts, but it's not really heavy on the money that it takes to repair this stuff. This is not the effective long-term solution. We got to get out of this privatization. We got a team that, hey, they're over the facilities management. Then we got our contractors coming in and, we're paying them. I'm not even going to go into that. We know what we're paying. We need a strategy to get out of this privatization. When I see budget gaps like this, okay, yes, we're operating on $1.70. We should be at $3.80. So that means that we're just paying personnel and not paying for what we're supposed to get done on the schools, whether it's aging infrastructure or just stuff that's, vandalism, of course, right? We got that too. We do. But we have to do things different. We really do. We need to really find where we can, get that, do that reduction and still have that quality. And I know for sure when we have our team, we have contractors ourselves, and we have our personal. folks that do the maintenance on our, not the maintenance on our buildings, and we have the custodians. We need to try to bring some of this in-house. We have not came up with a strategy. Of course, I'm not letting it go. And this is a large part of this budget, this maintenance budget. So I just really urge the system to take a look at that. Even if we can't do all of it, we got to actually try to break it out, whether it's a quarter this year, half of it next year, 75%. And within a 4-year period, we can turn this around and put the money where it needs to be, in the roofs. So that's all I'm saying. We're still paying for medical and everything else for these folks. Why not put them on the books? We write a bigger policy on the medical, it's less. So we do save money on the healthcare policy. We need to take a look at that. And I'm not gonna let it go. I'm gonna constantly talk about it. We're too heavy on that privatization in our maintenance. And this wasn't your fault, Dr. White. This was before you got it. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Danner. I just one or two quick questions that I have. Does one, I think that this information, if you could make sure that it gets posted. I did have one or two questions, which might mean adding a footnote or something to that. So just my one question, I don't recall from looking at it, what the maintenance numbers that you presented encompass. Like, for instance, does it encompass the part-time custodial, or is this encompassing things like contracts for the vendors to fix HVAC, et cetera? So what goes into the number of what the district currently spends, I guess, is my root question.
Okay, that is, of course, a combination of what we have in capital funds plus what we have for contracts.
Okay, so in that, does it include custodial as well, or is that considered upkeep rather than maintenance? I'm not sure what the categories of things are.
I can break it out further into the piece that's custodial.
Yeah, I just think it would be good to kind of have in there, and it might have been because I remember seeing that there was a definition of what was there, but I didn't know how all encompassing it was. So I think I would just take a look at that and see, does another sentence or two needed to be added to be able to say, this is what we mean when we say this, so that everybody understands that, and just confirm that it matches up with what that organization that
I'll
you
do
said.
that before we post.
Okay, appreciate that. I also appreciate seeing this information. I think that I mean, this is the kind of information that we've kind of talked about over time, but it's also something that we're finally seeing some numbers, similar to how we did it for the staffing guidelines, where, this is the gap between what people say we should have that are other professionals in this group, I mean, in these fields, and then this is what we actually have. And if I remember right, it was almost a $5 million gap, even if we just took their lowest number. It was almost
Yes.
a $5 million gap between what we're able to spend on a building maintenance for our spaces and what is recommended as the bottom for planning purposes. And I think that's stark. And I think goes a long way to explain some of the reasons why we have issues with roofs and other type things as well. So thank you for that information. This is also the kind of information I think would also probably be good to post along with in the budget information on the website, so that there's one place to get these kind of budget reports for things that are related to the budget for this fiscal year. Just so people have the context of things like a line item budget spreadsheet, just some of the other things that we're looking at, along with the superintendent's presentations that she made in the spring and in the early summer around the budget. Having just all those things in one place is helpful. Anything else in this item?
Mr. Wilcox?
Please, Dr. Yarbrough.
Yes. In terms of the posting piece, also if these items are appropriate to be posted through board docs,
Yes.
then I would ask us to do that too.
Yes.
If not, that's fine. But if so, please do.
Yeah, I agree. That was my point, that is posted with the meeting materials for this meeting. It would also be good if it's posted for the meeting materials for the full board meeting coming up, but understanding that they might need to tweak the draft a little bit based on our conversation the night before it's posted, but it should be posted probably within 24 hours of this meeting since it's been shown and discussed.
Yes, and I was wondering about like is board docs a place where these things would also sit outside of the meeting? Like, because I think there's a link on there for policies. Should there also be a link for this information? We don't have to discuss it here, but sometimes I think now my go-to is board docs because we use it in finance so much. But I'm not sure the rest of the public does that when they're looking for district information.
Thank you for that. I am looking in. This reminds me that there is a library section in board docs that I'm looking at now. So that would also be an appropriate place. So I'm anywhere would be fine. Board docs is probably easier to work with. But someplace, and there even was a budget information section for 24-25. So we have used it for that. Thanks for that. All right. There's nothing else on this item. The final remaining item was the data sharing policy. I've taken a look at that. I have an idea. I think one thing that we just probably need is a little preamble that kind of sets in some of the concerns that have come up with members of the committee and other board members. And I have a draft of that I'm working on that I'm going to send to everybody for comment, and we'll hopefully wrap this up at our next meeting. So
thank you.
My update on that. And if there's no questions, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
It's been moved.
Second.
So moved by Ms. Downer, seconded by Dr. Yarbrough. We'll go ahead and vote. Ms. Downer?
Yes.
Dr. Yarbrough?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you,
Good
everyone.
night. Thank you.